All right, so today we're going to be making lead boxes, which are the pop-ups that you normally get on lead pages when you click it, like a button or opt-in, it's going to pop up. And to do that for free, we're going to use some tools. One of them is going to be a pop-up maker plugin in WordPress, of course, and then the other one you're going to need is your email marketing. I'm using ActiveCampaign, I love it, and we're going to create a form. If you have a new form, you create it here. I'm just going to show you my general opt-in one. So, because basically we need to create the form that's going to go on the pop-up. So if you have a pop-up, let's say it's going to be a lead pages test. We're just going to copy this for now. I just want to show you what's going to happen. We're going to go over here. We're going to add the thing, save it, view page. And then when you click on this, it's going to be a pop-up. So this is what we're going to be creating. But this stuff, your call to action, your words, that can all be created within the pop-up. But the form, that's what we're going to be creating from your email marketing, like mine's ActiveCampaign, and that's what you do in your own email marketing provider. So for me, ActiveCampaign, I create a new form. I put it in a title, lead. I like to have a different structure in place, like for lead or event. But for them, it would be a lead, general opt-in. I just want to put in the name and the email address. So for me, there's standard fields that include first name, last name, phone in ActiveCampaign. I would just drag it over. So if I wanted to put, say, the phone in here, I just drag it and then drop it. I don't need to do that. So that's how you put in the fields. They have style for ActiveCampaign, so if you want to change any of the font colors, border colors, background for the buttons, anything like that, you can do that here. And what's also cool is they also have custom CSS. So if you are familiar with CSS, you can use the inspector tool to grab what class element this is and put in the right, any customizations you want to make. Like for me, I wanted the border radius to be, 3, so rather, actually I don't know what that is. So font family, I wanted to actually be my themes font, which is called Europa. So instead of using theirs, which could be like Arial or Times New Roman, I'm using a specific Europa, and I have all these other customizations as well. If you aren't familiar with CSS and you can't get your form to look exactly like you want, you can reach out to a web developer like me or someone else, and for an hour of the time, we can set this all up for you, how you want it to look with the right colors. And then you have options for what tags you want with ActiveCampaign. You'll probably have different things depending on your email marketing provider. But those are the 3 options that we have in ActiveCampaign. So your step would be to create what fields you want, make sure your form is looking pretty much how you want it to look, and have all your integrations set up. So when someone does submit the form, you know what's going to happen. Like you have them set up for like a sequence or delivering a lead magnet, anything like that. So that's step 1. We can just leave this window open. We're going to come back to it in a second. But first, we have to actually create the pop-ups itself. So you would want to create or go to plugins if you haven't already put it in. You would search for pop-up maker, and it should, this thing is always fun. If you don't type it exactly, it'll come up with other options before you get there. But this is the one you want, pop-up maker. It's awesome. Like you can see 5-star reviews, over 100,000 active installs. It's compatible as of, I think I'm running 4.8, maybe, yeah. And then you would just activate it or install it, activate it. And once it's installed on your WordPress, the next step would be is if you go on the sidebar, it's going to come up and there's all pop-ups, add a pop-up, pop-up themes. And the pop-up theme is what you're going to want to set up first, because we want to have the look of this, the look of this pop-up. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6 themes that it automatically comes with. If you actually click on like edit for the theme, it actually shows you a little preview of how it would look. So here you can see it has a blue button, pretty light background. You can make it out, a little border over here. This is called the cutting edge theme. Wow, it's fancy dancy where they put a yellow button. I don't actually like the look of this, but if you'd like it, go for it. The one that I liked using was Lightbox. I actually don't, well, yeah, I didn't copy it, so it looks a little different now, but before it had a really thick black border around it with like a drop shadow. The button was in a black circle with white, was a white a white X on a black circle over in the corner here. I just like it a little bit cleaner and more like the lead pages look. So if you see it here, this is what the button look, or this is what the pop-up looks like. That's what I like, so I wanted to create it this way. But then, the awesome thing about the pop-ups is, let's say we go to, you can also add your own theme if you want. You want total customization. Good on you. But for me, I like the Lightbox sort of. I just had to do some more customization. So I brought the opacity down to 30%. So this makes it like really, or really either overlaid how much you want the background to show through. Like here at 100%, you can't see anything, it's just black. But at 0, you would have everything in the background. So there wouldn't be any light gray, just be your background. So I chose 30%, which I think is pretty similar to lead pages. Then you have other whole bunch of settings for how, if you want borders, if you want drop shadows, if you want the titles of your stuff to be a different color, what color you want your font, the size of it, text shadow, which I don't recommend, looks weird. You have the close settings, like that's for the X, and if you want the X to be how far apart away, 5 pixels, 11 pixels, what color for the X. I didn't choose black, I chose 4EE, 4E, 4E instead, because it's a little bit, it's not as harsh as like a real black. Let's see, family, you can use your themes or you can pick from their own. I'm using my own inherent theme. You can have a background color, you could do images if you use the advanced one, but for my case, for the pop-up for LeadBox, it just needs to be simple and clean. And in my blog post, I have the rest of the settings in a picture, but I'll go through it slowly so you can see again, going from top to bottom. If you like it, I mean, you can go your own way, you can change it up, but that's just what I'm doing. And once you like it, and you can see the preview here, you can press update. You can always go back and change it later once you actually have a pop-up in place, and you can see, okay, yeah, I need to change this, make it a little less border, drop shadow, whatever you want. I think I went through a couple times just after I did the pop-up, just making sure it looked okay. But that's the theme. So once you have a theme, you're good to go for, you know, whatever pop-ups you make. You just create, you're gonna make a pop-up, you'll pick this theme, and it's good. It'll work. If you wanna change any of your pop-ups, instead of having to change every individual one like you would in lead pages, you just go to your theme, you edit it here, and then it's automatically done for all your pop-ups. So that makes a lot, saves you a lot of time. So now that we know what our box is going to look like pretty much, we're going to add a pop-up and start creating it. So you can have a testing pop-up, whatever you want to do. If you're ready to go with your first thing, you can name it whatever you like. If you see my pop-ups, I follow a little thing where I say post if it's going to be a post, or lead magnet if it's just a regular lead for lead general about, or the maintenance workshop or something. But lead magnets are usually what's in my post and, you know, what people get onto my list from. So if you did have some sort of, you know, structure, you could do something like lead magnet, or you could just pop in your lead magnet name. So if you did want to put a title here, you could. I just used my own sort of title-ish type thing. But let me show you. Let's see, test, edit. Yeah, I used my own little pop-up H3 class pop-up title. So I just changed it up a little bit. So you can just use, you can just use any of the default text editors in here if you want to. I think there's probably a visual tab, but I have disabled my visual tab. Usually there might be a visual and HTML. I'm using straight HTML for here just because sometimes the visual tab screws up other stuff that I'm working on. So to be safe, I just disabled it and I'm using HTML. That's why you see here, it's all code. H3 class, the pop-up title, this could be your call to action, and then I have my form, and then I have my little, what would you call that? I don't know. You know the word, but disclaimer. Yes, disclaimer. I put the disclaimer down in a smaller size. So that's about how you would put in your name, and it will come up with its own little URL once you pop in the name. Okay, so then this is working on our working one. We have over to the side where there's conditions. We'll get to that later. So, but the thing you do first is pop in your theme. So like I'm using the LeadBox, so I would use the LeadBox one. And then they have a couple more settings to do here. The first thing you want to think about is what makes the pop-up open, the trigger. They could automatically open, so if you'll have a delay for a certain amount of time, if you, you probably don't need to worry about that, but for time delay, they have that too. Or you can do a click open, which is what ours is, technically speaking, because we're clicking a button, and then actually, I don't need that page anymore. We're clicking the button, and that's what's popping it open. If you want to add extra selectors, CSS stuff, you can. It's automatically going to come with some CSS selectors for this particular pop-up, so you technically don't need to worry about it. I just leave this blank. Pop it in if you want to. You could do click open, press add, that's fine. Cookies, so if you want to prevent someone from popping it up. But again, we don't need to worry about it for our case, for like a lead magnet type or lead box type of thing. The size, you can also change it. So if you want really small or really humongous, I'm going for a modest 40%. So, and I pick the responsive size. So if you change this window size, see how it gets smaller and it still stays the same. You can still see everything. It doesn't stay the same, but yeah, you can see everything, so it's responsive. And that's at the 40% one for me. But if you choose something else, I also have a max width of 700 I put in. I don't like mine getting too big. I don't know what would really happen. I think I looked at it before when I was making it, and I found 700 was a good size, but you can play around with it. Let's see, disable overlay. I don't care about this stuff. That's just fine. You can play around with it too, but the one that I like to look at, the last one, is the close settings, and I like to check these three because it's basically you want to make sure that when someone comes on your pop-up, it's easy for them to close it because maybe people didn't mean to click it, and you don't want to make them mad if you can't click anywhere except for that little button, might make them frustrated. So I like to be able to click out of it from anywhere. I think they said F4 was closing it, yeah, or escape. So I've just clicked on F4, and now I can click on escape, and it also closes it. So I try to be nice, and I click these for people. But if you don't want to, then they'll have to click on that little small X or however size X you choose eventually. So I like clicking those, and that's about it for the pop-up. And so we have our pop-up now. If you see, like I already done one, like right here. So we don't have any of that yet. And it would still work. It would just be a blank pop-up. So actually, if I copy this, exit out, and then we'll press update, I'll show you. We can go back to this page and refresh the page. If we clicked on this, it's a blank pop-up. So we don't want that happening. So what we're going to do actually, once we have what it looks like set up pretty well, the next step is to actually put in what words you want to say and then put in your form. So for me, I say, this can be your call to action. You could say whatever you want. Some of my other ones I have, yes, I want these freebies, or yes, I'm interested in this benefit. Something benefit related usually is the best to do for your call to action. So that's that one. So again, if you have Visual Builder, it might look a little different. I think you probably can just pop in your words, click on which class it would be, and you'd be on your way. Or you can do the or the HTML way that I'm doing here. I just have some other CSS classes for this, so if it's over your head, don't worry about it. Okay, so, but the main thing then is You can put in your words and we're ready to go, but we actually need the form. So for me, back to Active Campaign, I would go to Integrate up here at the top, and this is where you would pop in your form. Actually, I'm zoomed out. I'm zoomed in a little. There we go. It was cut off a little bit. Okay, so they give you the simple embed form. So that would just be this one, this very small little form. Or they have this huge, the full form, where you can get every little thing, all the JavaScripts, all the coding, and you can copy that back into your, too many windows, I'm sorry, back into here. You could pop in this whole long form, and it would still look the same as the regular pop-up. It's just the full form, and if you wanted to put other things into the form, like hidden fields, that would also be good, because then you could just find the part in the form where you want to change, and you can change that, and then you can copy it over. But that's for another day, because it's a whole other thing. So for the most part, you're probably just going to be copying that simple form, and whatever email provider you have, it's probably pretty much the same, or you have the form code and you just pop it in here. And once you do that, you can update or publish your pop-up, and then you're like, okay, we have it, so how do I actually use it? So that brings us to our next step. So you've created your pop-up. That's all good. You go back over to all pop-ups. We'll just leave the changes. I don't think it matters. So you'll find the pop-up that you want to use, like let's say this one, and they give you the CSS classes. So you can actually either use this one or this one. If you want to just do the straight number, it's smaller, it's fine. Or if you want to actually have the description so you actually know what it is, you can just do one or the other. So if you're going back to where you actually want the pop-up to be on your website, actually let's go back to edit with Elementor. And you can use the pop-up, pretty much any way you would like. If you want to use it as a button and you're using a page builder, usually there's that advanced tab or somewhere over where they have CSS classes. Oops, wrong one. So if we copied over what you want it to be, you go back to somewhere in your page builder where they have CSS classes for buttons, and you can pop that in. Just make sure you just leave it as is. Don't put any periods or quotation marks. You just leave it like that. That's for a button. So let's say we wanted to make a line, like click here. Like if you want to download, click here. So we want the click here to be a pop-up if they click it. So the same thing where you can just, you would pretend like it was HTML, and you'd have to do, I have it in my blog post, but you would just make sure you write this. I'm just going to write it out fast. Oops, class equals. Okay, hold on, bear with me. Click here. Okay. So basically, I've written out this A tag, or which your link. See how it's changed over here. If you're using the visual builder of anything where you're just popping in your words and then you click on the link button, it's not going to work exactly the same, because you need to make sure that this class gets added, which is your pop-up class. So that makes sure it knows exactly which one you meant. So if you're using a visual builder, I think you just create a link normally. Let's see if this works. Let's say we'll pretend it's going to google.com. Actually, no, sorry. Let's for real. For realsies, guys, we're just going to pop in this. You pop in a hashtag, which means it's like an empty URL, and it'll add it to there. So if you're using the visual builder, yeah, you pop it in, then you would click on the HTML tab. Usually it's like another tab. And if you do that, then you'll see this backend stuff, and you might get stressed out, but it's okay. You just find the href where you popped in that hashtag. You would just make sure you added another space. You type in class equals and put in quotation marks, pop in that code, and close quotation marks. And then you're in business again. So I have it in my blog post where you can see exactly what the code needs to be. It just needs to have usually two parts, which is the hashtag of the blank URL, and then just make sure that class is in there. So now, let's see, we click on this, and it should pop up, which I did not save the Womp womp. I think we should have popped it in. Okay. Yep, I took it out. Okay, let's view the autosave and do that. We'll restore this autosave. Okay, there we go. And we'll update this. You know, nobody's perfect. Okay, so that should be set. Refresh the page. Click on edit. There we go. Our form is back in business. So that was a straight inline link where you could, anything you want to, hyperlink, you can make that a pop-up, as well as you can put it in a button class too. And also depending on your theme or your website, like for me, I make my own CSS style buttons if I need to be. So I could always say here, class, and I would also add additional red button. So I have these different button classes you might see over my website, like blue, yellow, my standard gold one. So I can just change this. I don't know if blue's actually, yeah, blue, yellow. So I have different buttons. So I would just add that class before the pop-up maker one, and then it would work the same way as a regular button. Of course, that depends if you have the CSS buttons that your web developer has done or you've done it yourself. But if not, you wouldn't worry about that unless you're using a page builder probably where you can make your own buttons. So that's basically it. If you want to go back to your test after you've tested it, you've actually clicked it. Oops, the wrong one. You clicked it, you filled out your name, your email address, and you've tested your form in your email marketing to make sure that you get your email, you're added to your list, or however you've set it up. Once you're happy with it, you can go back into your pop-up and you go over here to analytics. It tells you how many times it's been open, and you can reset it. You're like, are you sure? Like, yep, I'm positive. Press OK, and then you can update it, and now you have blank opens. So, oh, there we go, blank opens. Speaking too fast. So once it's been opened 0 times, now you'll know from now on how many people click it, because if you go back to all pop-ups, it tells you a list for all of them, or you could go individually into it. So, like I've tested this one a lot, so that's why it's more. And that's it, pretty much, or not pretty much, but it is. So if you have any questions, let me know, but that's how you do it. Thanks for watching.